Unlike landlines, cell phones are not automatically registered with the reverse 911 system. That means if you don't register,
This is the Santa Barbara County Reverse 911 system. Due to the community emergency, authorities are issuing a mandatory
you won't get the call. To register your cell phone, go to awareandprepare.org.
I grew up here. I've made memories here, and I love being able to drive around knowing that this is my community. I'm helping my community.
We care, and we want to make this community a better place.
This career is for someone who wants to be challenged deep down inside to better a community.
It's the best job in the world, it really is. It's like a dream come true. Join your home team.
Hi, I'm Becky Davis with City TV. Welcome to Inside Santa Barbara, the city's only news magazine show. We bring you up to date on the city's most significant issues, projects, and events. Here in Santa Barbara, most of our streets were laid out well before the invention of the automobile. Because of that, they are much narrower than streets created in the last 50 years. When large vehicles are parked on these slim streets, that narrowness can cause safety issues. In our first story, City TV's Chris Bell details a new city ordinance that's specifically targeting this problem.
It's a big problem. Large vehicles parked on small streets originally designed for horse and carriage. When large vehicles park on these slim streets, they block lines of sight for drivers, bicyclists, and pedestrians alike. To get a feel for the issue, we took a drive with supervising transportation engineer Derek Bailey.
You can see how far that oversized vehicle hangs out into the street. You see as we get a little bit closer to the intersection how it's actually blocking the stop sign. That's definitely a safety concern.
In response to the issue, on October 18, 2016, the City Council approved the Oversized Vehicle Ordinance. The ordinance limits the size of vehicles allowed to park on city streets to a maximum of 25 feet in length, 80 inches in width, or 82 inches in height.
When we get into the larger dimension vehicles, they can cause traffic safety issues. The width of vehicles can encroach into traffic lanes. The height and length of the vehicles can affect the visibility, pulling out of driveways and intersections, side streets, and as well the visibility of traffic control devices like stop signs and traffic signals.
A key part of this ordinance is a repeal of an old ordinance that prohibited RV parking within 500 feet of specified areas like certain schools, parks, churches, daycare centers, and hospitals. Those restrictions are gone and instead will be replaced by a broad prohibition of oversized vehicles.
Understanding that oversized vehicles are necessary for conducting certain business and services, the ordinance has a number of exemptions.
We fully recognize that we need to support commerce in the city, and the deliveries need to be made, pickups, drop-offs, that kind of thing is really important. But we really want to minimize the amount of time that oversized vehicles are parked on city streets.
All of the exemptions are time limited. They're all based on vehicles that are only going to use the space for a short period of time. The first is practical. It's for commercial vehicle loading and unloading. So commercial vehicles that are oversized will be able to park for up to 30 minutes while they're loading and unloading merchandise or goods or other materials. The second exception is also practical. Emergency vehicles such as fire trucks or public works vehicles will not be subject to the ordinance. Third, tourist buses and city buses will be exempt as well. They need to operate. What the public works staff intends to do for those large vehicles is provide specified parking areas for them.
Oversized vehicles that have broken down will be able to remain on city streets for up to 4 hours in order to be repaired or towed. The ordinance also has 2 permit-based exceptions. One is a temporary parking permit that is available to 3 types of drivers.
It's available for business people who have large vehicles and need to service properties around town. So for example, if you were a contractor or a plumber or an electrician and you have an oversized vehicle, you'll be able to get a permit that will allow you to stop in front of or near the locations you need to service. Secondly, there is a permit for out-of-town visitors who are coming to see you, and they would be allowed to park for up to 5 days at a time at a specific location with a total limit of 10 days in any 90-day period. Finally, in the temporary permit category, a resident who wants to load a vehicle before a trip will be allowed to get a permit, also online, to enable them to do that, again limited to 5 days.
The second category of permit-based exceptions is for the disabled.
So this ordinance makes an allowance for disabled people who need an oversized vehicle because of their disability. Say it's a mobility van and you are disabled, you can get a permit to park it at your home, at your work, or any place you receive services.
Information about the permit application process is available online at santabarbaraca.gov or at the downtown parking office located at 1221 Anacapa Street.
When they do come in to get a permit, we will work with them to identify safe places to park so that some of those safety issues aren't compromised.
The city is notifying residents and visitors of the new ordinance in a number of ways.
We already have a website with frequently asked questions. In addition, Public Works staff have posted windshield flyers on oversized vehicles throughout town once already. They'll be doing that again. Finally, before the ordinance goes into effect, we will be conducting a public meeting to confirm that the approach we're taking with the ordinance and the permitting processes work as well as they can for the public.
In addition, nearly 270 of these signs have gone up at all entrances to the city and on major arterial and connector streets.
It'll basically be impossible to get to anywhere in town without getting notice that oversized vehicle parking is prohibited.
Since the width of our historically narrow streets isn't going to change, the oversized vehicle ordinance attempts to consider the needs of large vehicle users while protecting drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians. The goal of the new ordinance is to make sure the lean streets of Santa Barbara aren't mean streets when it comes to traffic safety.
It is City Council policy to try and avoid bicycle and pedestrian accidents to the maximum extent possible, even to the extent of visioning that someday there will be 0 pedestrian or cyclist fatalities as a result of accidents. So safety is a real priority here.
One of the things we want to do, we want to educate the public, and ideally nobody gets a ticket. Ideally everybody understands the rules and everybody's on the same page safety-wise.
For more information about the oversized vehicle ordinance, visit santabarbaraca.gov/oversized. Stay tuned, we'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
Oh no.
Hi. Oh, honey, how thoughtful of you.
You know me. Plants don't need as much water in the fall and winter, so I decided to get up early and turn it down.
You bringing your golf clubs to my mother's?
Yeah.
Take control of your controller. Turn it down.
Minutes away. Hours of fun. Explore new worlds. Grab a bite. Have a blast. Catch the fun. Stearns Wharf. Playing near you.
Go for a drive.
Hang out with your friends. Take a stroll on the beach. Have fun.
Yes!
Get your game on at Santa Barbara Golf Club. Welcome back. If you've been here on Lower State Street recently, you've probably noticed all the construction going on. Part of that activity is 2 city bridge replacement projects. One is just complete, and the other will be completed soon. City TV's Ryder Christ has the story.
Since 2014, the city has been replacing and enhancing the Mason Street Bridge and Cabrillo Boulevard Bridge over Mission Creek.
The Cabrillo Boulevard Bridge replacement project over Mission Creek, that bridge was over 100 years old and was structurally deficient and in need of improvement. The Mason Street Bridge replacement project is a 50-year-old bridge, and that bridge is functionally obsolete, and meaning that geometrically it doesn't meet current standards, and it also didn't provide for flood flows. And as part of the Lower Mission Creek Flood Control Project, that bridge was upgraded to a 20-year storm event.
In addition to replacing the bridges, there have been many improvements to Mission Creek, including creek banks and restored wildlife habitat for steelhead trout and tidewater gobies.
It was designed to be basically doubles the capacity of Mission Creek through this area. Prior to this, it was a little bit more than 30 foot wide, the channel bottom, and now it's 60 foot wide.
At Cabrillo Boulevard Bridge, the old bridge was actually built in 3 different phases, and underneath the bridge there were multiple rows of what we call piles, or the foundation for the bridge. And they weren't laid out perfectly in alignment, and so there were opportunities for large debris to get stuck under the bridge, which in a large event could create a flood hazard. And so as part of the bridge replacement here, all of the piles are in alignment, and the flood flow can convey a 20-year storm event under Cabrillo Boulevard, which is the general capacity of Lower Mission Creek.
The 3-phase construction process on the Cabrillo Bridge started in fall of 2014 with initial site preparations and preliminary utility work. To reduce congestion in the area, the city worked on one side of the bridge at a time, leaving the opposite side open to the public and traffic. In 2015, the north side of the bridge was replaced, and in 2016, the beach side started construction. Those visiting the waterfront can now walk on the new section of the bridge.
Some of the things we heard that the public likes or the businesses like are the wider sidewalks. The sidewalk width on the north side of the bridge was about 4 feet wide. It's, I think, about 8 feet wide now, and as well as a new concrete barrier rail to emulate the historic rail. What was there before was an old chain link fence, and now there's a nice concrete barrier rail.
In January 2017, the Mason Street Bridge opened to the public, allowing traffic and pedestrians to get from Chapala Street to State Street. Back at the waterfront, Phase 3 of the Cabrillo Bridge replacement project is set to finish in 2017.
We are nearing the end of the project. Upcoming, look for some reopenings of some vehicle lanes on Cabrillo Boulevard, and then be looking for the remainder of the project to be completed in spring, summer, potentially some remaining items in the park in fall of 2017.
We're happy with it, the way it's progressed so far. We've had a good team to work with. We've been doing business in Santa Barbara for 40 years, so Santa Barbara is one of our best clients, so we work well with the city of Santa Barbara.
As the Cabrillo Bridge replacement project finishes up, construction on 2 other bridges in Santa Barbara will commence, but with a shorter time frame.
Gutierrez Street Bridge replacement project, which is scheduled potentially to go into construction later this year in 2017. And then we have another project up at Anapamu Street over Old Mission Creek that'll be going into construction soon. Those projects are about a 1-year construction duration. Cabrillo Boulevard and Mason Street Bridge were both 2-year projects.
When the Cabrillo Bridge is finally finished, Lower State Street will have a new bridge that is well worth the wait.
Cabrillo Boulevard's a really unique bridge for the city. It's on the waterfront. It's in a city historic district, and it's also a primary arterial bridge. I'm not sure there is a more important bridge to the city than the Cabrillo Boulevard project, which is why I think the city and Caltrans and everybody involved in this project really wanted to make the most of this project and kind of make it as a prime example of a public works project. I think it's something the city is proud of and can be proud of for the next 100 years.
For more information about the Cabrillo Bridge Replacement Project or other city projects, visit santabarbaraca.gov/bridge projects. Santa Barbarans have been some of the best water conservers in the state since this historic drought began 6 years ago. But what if you want to go a step further? Up next, Mel Weisberger shows us a city program for commercial, industrial, and institutional customers that can help them get to that next level.
When people think of staying water-wise, we tend to think of things we can do every day, such as turning off the faucet while brushing our teeth or taking shorter showers. However, commercial, industrial, and institutional water customers are learning that there is so much more they can do in their battle against inefficiency and waste, especially through the assistance of a program tailored just for them. The Commercial, Industrial, and Institutional Survey and Incentive Program is saving these businesses time and money for minimal effort and resources.
It's amazing what they've done down there.
The survey consists of 2 parts, an indoor and outdoor inspection alongside a trained water specialist who will walk through the property with you and point out potential savings opportunities.
It's really a simple process. It's generally just a few hours of staff time for a city staff person or 2, depending on the size of the project, to come out and meet with someone that's there who knows the facility best. So we do recommend that a facility manager or perhaps a maintenance person walks around with our city staff to go over all of the different facilities within the property or the various appliances that use water, so they can talk about how they're maintained, the age of them, and how much use they get over their lifetime.
We ask some basic questions. How many staff people work there? How many guests do you have? If it's a laundry facility, how many loads of laundry? And then we'll look at the individual sizes of the machines.
Typically, however, the recommended changes are things that can be done for a minimal cost, but will save you much more over the next couple of years.
Well, when we actually started going into the program and visiting different sites, all of us, including the financial and the facilities managers, we all thought it was going to be the big ticket items. But what we actually found out was that after looking at all of these places, it's the toilets, it's the aerators, it's the little things that add up over time. The toilet itself doesn't ever wear out. The porcelain part, that'll be there forever. It's the internal workings, it's the guts of the toilet on a flush tank.
Not only can the free survey lead to savings on water bills, it can also save facility owners money on their sewer and energy bills as well.
After the survey, a report will be prepared and we'll present it to the facilities manager, the finance director, anyone who wants to be involved in the future opportunities to save water on the project. And we'll make recommendations for the specific appliance upgrades or repairs that we have found while we did the survey.
Commercial, industrial, and institutional customers that have already done the survey have saved between $10,000 and $14,000 on energy, water, and sewer bills, not to mention how much water they're saving. Getting involved in the survey program isn't difficult, and there are even funds set aside to assist business owners with any expenses that might arise.
So in terms of the local businesses that have participated in this program, we've had various hotels and retirement communities, Santa Barbara City College, the Waterfront, and the Santa Barbara Zoo.
Commercial, industrial, and institutional business owners aren't the only water customers who have access to special rebate and refund programs through the city.
Every single water customer is eligible for a free water checkup, where we help them evaluate where water is used on their property and how they can have efficiency upgrades. We also have a very popular landscape rebate program, and that's also available for any type of water customer.
All we ask is that you invite us in. Let us come and be a part of the solution. We have some wonderful, efficient recommendations, and most of them are not terribly expensive. But if we do find something in your establishment, we have funds to help you bring it up so that you can be the benefit of the newest in technologies and water efficiencies.
Free money's always good. I love free money. Yes.
Commercial, industrial, and institutional water customers interested in enrolling in the program can call 564-5460 to make an appointment or check out santabarbaraca.gov/CII survey. We'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
Thanks, guys. Darn.
Well, that was very thoughtful of you.
Well, you know me, Dad. Plants don't need as much water in the fall and winter, so I decided to get up early and turn it down.
So is that what you're wearing to Grandma's?
Take control of your controller. Turn it down. Drive one down the middle. Chip it close. Sink the putt. Get your game on at Santa Barbara Golf Club.
Welcome back. Webster's Dictionary defines the word hero as someone who leads by example. Well, the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden has been a hero of conservation since 1926. In addition to native plant preservation, the Botanic Garden also provides a fantastic example of efficient water use. Up next, Adrienne Brannon shows us how the garden's heroic efforts have earned it a prestigious award.
It's a place of serene beauty and tranquility. For 90 years, the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden has fostered the preservation of California's native plants through research and education. In addition to its efforts to promote and preserve native landscapes, the garden has recently focused on sustainability and conservation. Those efforts have earned the Botanic Garden the prestigious Water Hero Award.
The City of Santa Barbara Water Hero Award is a way for us to honor either an individual, a business, or an organization who really goes above and beyond for water conservation and can serve as a role model for the rest of our community. And this year we honored the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden for a multitude of reasons, but in 2016 they also completed 2 wonderful gardens that really benefit water conservation in a way that visitors to the garden can take an idea in terms of plant palette, irrigation, etc., and bring it back to their own homes.
We changed our mission back in 2010 to reflect that we also wanted to be a role model for sustainability. And so in the last several years, we've replaced 5 gardens, all of which have gone to a much more water-conserving approach to the landscape, and really done ways that inspire people to use California native plants as well, in a way that reduces our water need and promotes habitat and wildlife.
The garden not only works to preserve native plants and provide answers to conservation challenges, but provides practical solutions for water-saving techniques that can be applied in your own home and garden.
Although the challenge of converting your home and lawn to environmentally friendly systems can be daunting, the Home Demo Garden provides many ideas on water-saving technologies.
So we wanted to really bring it home and bring it to a scale that made sense for so many more people. And the WaterWise Home Garden really does that. It shows off rainwater collection, shows off a dry creek bed, shows off using the gray water to landscape, a rain garden, all the features that you can put into any home in our area, and really smart ways to use California native plants and promote a wonderful landscape in the process.
The Island View Garden employs simple and innovative systems that fully utilize the water that hits the site.
So up at the parking lot, which is a little bit uphill of us here, we collect all that water. It runs down our driveway and then pours through this bioswale feature. We're calling it the rill, and it is planted with horsetails and sedges, and they will filter that water, and then as it filters through, it pours into our rainwater collection system at the other end. So over the course of the year, we actually gather enough water off our parking lot and building rooftop and collect it into our rainwater collection system that it actually meets, we expect, our entire demand in this garden.
Also, at the Island View Garden, visitors have the opportunity to see, touch, and smell a variety of drought-tolerant plants, native to 8 of the Channel Islands. The garden has even highlighted plants that are hardy enough to survive those of us who don't have the gift of green thumbs.
Another plant that is on our list of easy plants is the seaside daisy. It's a coastal bluff plant, and so it's used to having some fog drip, but you could water this once a week and it would be very happy. You could water this once a month and it would be less happy, but it would not die.
Manzanita is not just drought tolerant, but is also native to California and can add to the curb appeal of your home. The Botanic Garden has a whole section dedicated to this distinctive and diverse plant.
A lot of these manzanitas are species that came from the wild, but some of them are hybrids or they're selections. Somebody went and rappelled down a cliff somewhere because they saw a manzanita that was blooming a bit sooner or a little more compact or had some feature that made it great for gardens. There's a manzanita for every possible situation.
The Garden Growers Nursery is also a great place to shop for all varieties of water-wise native California plants.
This is where, in my opinion, all the fun happens, because this is where you get to buy the plants and do the creating.
An annual plant sale held in the spring and fall offers over 5,000 plants to choose from.
During the drought, it's very important to find people in the community who are doing the right thing so that others may follow suit. So the Botanic Garden has a great showcase of beautiful native plants, and as people are removing their lawns during the drought, it's a great opportunity to see what other landscapes are available and what may be saving more water in the long term.
For 90 years, the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden has been a shining example of preservation, education, and conservation. The garden has provided solutions to thousands of visitors and is a living illustration of sustainability that will be in full bloom for generations to come.
For more information about the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden, visit sbbg.org. For more information on being water-wise, visit santabarbaraca.gov/water. The Andre Clark Bird Refuge offers many things. It's a haven for wildlife, a great place to exercise, and it's also a wonderful place to appreciate natural beauty. But its development over the years has changed the ecosystem of the refuge, and the result sometimes isn't so pretty. Up next, City TV's Adrian Brannon explains the problem and shows us the Creeks Division's efforts to remedy the occasionally stinky situation.
Home to over 200 species of birds, the Andre Clark Bird Refuge provides a great place for recreational activities as well as some of the best views that our city has to offer. At any given time of day, families walk hand in hand with children, couples exercise together, and tourists ride chartered bikes along the pathway at the water's edge. But the refuge didn't always look like it does today. Until the 1880s, the area was a natural estuary fed with fresh water from Sycamore Creek and salt water from the ocean.
Previously, the bird refuge was a shallower salt pond marsh. And so it would fill up when it rained, and it was connected to Sycamore Creek, and Sycamore Creek would breach through the sand, and this would drain. And in the summertime, it would be dry. It wasn't a lake.
In those summer months, the estuary was so dry it was used as a horse race track. But when the railroad was built and subsequent development, like Highway 101 and Cabrillo Boulevard, isolated the area from its water sources, things began to change.
They dredged it and made it a lake, and then cut off the outlet, basically, through Sycamore Creek. It does outlet to the ocean sometimes, but it's very rare now because it just doesn't get enough water to fill it up and outlet it on most years. And with this drought for the last 5 years, it hasn't broken through the berm once, except till this year it actually did.
The absence of natural flow has had many consequences at the bird refuge, the most significant being a buildup of nutrients or eutrophication.
It's a little bit like the Dead Sea, you know, everything drains into it and nothing really is draining out.
So we're constantly getting nutrients put in during rain events. All kinds of urban runoff has nutrients from people putting on excess fertilizer that runs off, and also kind of natural nutrients, just the leaves and the litter from street trees.
The high levels of nutrients frequently set off a chain reaction where algae increases to feed on the nutrients. When the algae dies, bacteria breaks it down, creating quite a stink.
We have two types of stink events. There's ones that last longer, and those are more the rotten egg, H2S kind of smell. And then we get these milder events that are more garlicky, fishy smell, you know, and those aren't as strong, but they're milder and don't usually last as long.
Extreme stink events happen every couple to every 3 or 4 years. Moderate stink events seem to happen every year.
And these so-called stink events are nothing new.
The first documentation that we've seen was in a Park and Rec Commission meeting from 1933, and they were saying how once it got blocked off, once the bird refuge was basically formed, that the stink events started occurring.
But the bad smell is only part of the problem. When bacteria breaks down, the algae blooms, using up most of the oxygen in the water in the process.
When we go through periods of low dissolved oxygen, top to bottom in the water column, there are very few organisms that can survive that.
Over the years, the city has tried a number of tactics to remedy the situation.
We've heard that some park staff used to bring an air compressor and some hoses and try to pump air into the bird refuge, and they'd sleep in their trucks, back of their trucks overnight while they tried to pump air into the bird refuge.
They used to put things like copper sulfate, which is pretty toxic. It's a heavy metal. We can't do that anymore. That would kill it. It was chlorinated. We tried filling it with potable water. We're not going to do that now that with the drought. And there were things like driving boats around to try to aerate it. And we had a pilot project where we'd done some aeration. You can actually see the little bubbles there. It's still going on. We looked at some new technology information that could, like I said, like probiotics, things like that, to see, is there anything out there that we could put into the bird refuge that will help treat it and reduce the smell events. And we didn't find anything that was really successful. We've been doing about 3 or 4 years of sampling of the water quality in the bird refuge, and that gave us a lot of data.
With the knowledge of what doesn't work, along with the new data, Creek staff has narrowed its focus to 2 areas, the first of which is to increase flushing.
What we're looking at in the future here is to see, can we open this up a little more, both the mouth of on the beach and the drains that go under Cabrillo, to find out if we can get the bird refuge to flush more and get, as I said, salt water to come in and fresh water to go out.
There are many regulatory and budgetary hurdles for this solution. That's why Creek staff is also promoting attacking the problem at its source, and that involves all of us.
The most important thing that people can do that live in the watershed of the bird refuge, and the watershed is about 600 acres, is to reduce the amounts of nutrients coming off their properties. The 2 main ways are to reduce the use of inorganic fertilizers and switch to more organic varieties, and still not over-apply, even those are organic varieties. And second is to keep their streets clean and sidewalks clean of leaves that are going to run into the storm drain during a rain event.
Something that takes a little more effort is water that runs off of your driveways and roofs. You can actually take that and divert it to your garden or to your lawn, and that helps to infiltrate that water and prevents that dirty water coming off of your roof or your driveway from going down into the creeks and ultimately the ocean.
To find out more about the Creeks Division's efforts at the bird refuge, call 897-2658. Stay tuned, we'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
I grew up here, I've made memories here, and I love being able to drive around knowing that this is my community. I'm helping my community.
We care, and we want to make this community a better place.
This career is for someone who wants to be challenged deep down inside to better a community.
It's the best job in the world, it really is. It's like a dream come true. Join your home team.
Minutes away. Hours of fun. Enjoy a taste of Santa Barbara. Experience the romance. Stearns Wharf. Playing near you.
Welcome back. Do you want to become a better reader? Or maybe volunteer your time to help make a difference in someone's life? In our next story, we'll learn about a program at the library that's helping many adults improve some very crucial skills.
But it seemed very slow to him.
For the past 30 years, the Santa Barbara Public Library has offered a special program that provides adults in our community with free tutoring. It's called the Adult Literacy Program, and it has had a positive effect on many lives.
We have sort of thousands and thousands of Santa Barbara residents, and some of them we serve cyclically. Like they come to us for one thing, I want to study to pass a contractor's licensing exam or the cosmetology exam. And then they come back a couple years later and they're interested either in changing a career or going back to school or just reading better for pleasure. So we do have overlap, but we have served thousands of people. We serve every year between 300 and 350 people and adult learners. And at any given moment, and it's always a snapshot in time, I'm going to say we have between 175 and 200 active tutoring pairs.
Tutoring for the program is provided by volunteers who receive free training and resources from the library. Tutors commit to meet regularly with their student to help them achieve their learning goals.
The time that you tutor with your individual student, it really is up to the teacher. They've given us all the tools. They gave me a fat notebook of all kinds of lesson plan ideas and techniques and tips. But it's very custom and personalized so that I can work with my student to design not only the content but the tenure of how long we work together. And my student, a Chinese immigrant, has decided to work with me in 10-week segments. And then for the whole 10-week period, for example, last time she had some goals to write letters to her daughters in English.
Most of our time is spent just talking to each other, you know, so they're not confident to speak English. And the problem is when there's so many people here that speak, in the case of the two people that I have tutored, so many people here, so much family here that speak, you know, Spanish, and that's what they prefer to speak, and most of them won't speak to them in English, that they don't get an opportunity except when they're actually hired or working for an employer to speak it at all. So that's really what they use me for, is to just get comfortable and confident in this language, not an easy language.
You don't have to have any teaching or tutoring experience to be a volunteer in the program. The library will provide all the training you need to help others achieve their goals.
The training that's provided through the Santa Barbara library system is great. It's not too long, it's not too short, it's just enough. For me, it was a one-day session down in Carpinteria at the library there. So I drove down to Carp and spent 4 hours, I think it was. They broke it up in half and it was easy. There was another 10 people there with me. The ages were from the 20s to the late 50s, which is where I am. I've never done this before. I don't have a lot of fear working with people because I own a company in town and I work with clients and staff a lot. But I don't think it's going to be difficult for anybody to do this. You don't need a teaching background to do this.
The program is open to anyone over the age of 16 that is not already enrolled in another degree program, can hold a basic conversation in English, and has at least 2 to 3 hours a week to meet with a tutor. For Spanish speakers who don't read and write at all, the program also provides tutoring in basic Spanish literacy to help those adults transition more easily to English.
So we help people who just want to improve their reading and writing for the pleasure of it. We help people who dropped out of school and they want help finishing their adult high school diploma and their GED program. We also help people with licensing exams, and that's true for my fellow city employees as well. We have lots of people who work for the city who have both tutored in the program and participated as learners in the program. We help people have the goal they want to be able to speak more comfortably to their boss or write a good email for work or be able to talk comfortably to their child's teacher and prepare for a parent-teacher conference or help their kids with homework. Those are our number 1 and 2 requests. I want to be able to help my children. I'm doing this to help my kids.
To participate as a learner in the program, each student will receive an informal assessment in order to learn what their goals are and to pair them up with the best tutor to fit their learning needs.
For a learner who's interested, the very first step is to walk into the library, walk into any library, talk to a staff person and get the referral here so they get our phone number, and to call us. So you can walk right in our office and we're able to help you, or you call us and we schedule an appointment. And at that appointment, here's what our first goal is. It's to make you feel safe and happy about coming back. So in that appointment, I do want to find out some basic information about the learner, how we can contact you, when you're available, what library you're available at, all of those things, and also an idea of what your learning goals are. And so we take people and we understand that goals change at any time. We do give people an assessment. It's a very friendly assessment. It's not a standardized test, and we always let learners know it's totally fine to just tell us what you want. The only reason we want to ask you all these questions is so that we can help find a great tutor for you and help that tutor understand what you need.
It was just this happy accident that I walked in and said I had been a marriage and family therapist, and he was a psychology student and was looking for a tutor actively. And I saw Jane's eyes light up. She was, matching the people together, and it was great. So I feel helpful. And it's wonderful to see him get through struggles and succeed.
My favorite thing is that the tutors always help me a lot. They feel how do I develop, they see how do I develop, and we work on that. I feel more confident about my writing skills, my speaking skills, English speaking skill. It improved because I learned from not knowing to write a paragraph and to write an essay and take advanced English classes.
While some adults participate in the program until their specific goal is reached, others continue to return to the program with new goals for years to come. One example is Jesus Garcia, who has been part of the program for the last 10 years and has seen major improvements in many areas.
In the beginning, I was having a really hard time with grammar, knowing the past, present, and future. And now I'm getting it, and I'm getting more confident, and I'm bonding more with my tutor, and I really enjoy it. And I'm still with my tutor, but we meet not often as before. Before we meet twice each week. Now we meet once every month.
Whether you want to improve your own skills or you simply want to make a difference in someone's life, the Adult Literacy Program is a great place to begin.
I know people are afraid of going out there and telling I can't read or can't spell. And I was like that in the beginning, but I really wanted to improve myself because I know I have something I wanted to do, a goal, something I want to accomplish. And to do that, I need to, take the steps. So I'm pretty sure people should take the step and just open up.
This is fundamental in people's lives, communication. In my situation, this woman, my age, had lived here in Santa Barbara for over 35 years and spoke Cantonese Chinese as her first language with very little English. And there just wasn't any opportunity for her to learn English, having raised two daughters who are now grown and living back east. And now she has an opportunity with more time on her hands to do that learning. And to me, the ability for her to come back and see the progress that she makes on a weekly basis, it's amazing. I love it.
I think that's a real success of our program, that many of our volunteers are really happy and they find that the program changes them. We always say to volunteers, one of the benefits of volunteering is you can change someone's life. And I think a lot of volunteers come into this and they think, oh, I can't imagine not being able to read well. I want to change someone's life. And they walk out at the end of volunteering and they say, my life kind of changed too.
If you'd like to participate in the Adult Literacy Program, visit sbplibrary.org and click on the Programs and Events tab. What does the coast mean to you? Do you go there often? Can you imagine if our coastline looked like the rest of Southern California with every inch of land developed up to the sand? The fact that Santa Barbara has most of its coast open and accessible to the public is no accident. Up next, City TV's Chris Bell explains why we're unique and reveals a new effort to increase use and appreciation of this precious resource.
Hi
I think there's something about being on the edge of a continent and experiencing the sound of the waves and the sunsets and the birds that fly along the shoreline.
It really represents the intersection between the land and the sea, and it's such a dynamic, changing coastline.
For me, anytime you have water and mountains together, that's something I want to paint. I want to fill the whole canvas with the water and the mountains.
The Santa Barbara Coast. Sanctuary, playground, resource, inspiration. Our coast is many things to many people, but while most of us can't imagine life without the beach or ocean, few of us know the rich history of our coastal areas or how that history shaped the city we love today. Santa Barbara is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in all of the Americas. The Chumash people called this area home for thousands of years before the arrival of European settlers. And the primary reason the Chumash located here was the same reason many of us are here today, the ocean.
Beginning about 3,000 years ago, we began to see in the archaeological record increasing sophistication in using the marine environment. We find the first fish hooks begin to appear. We find harpoon parts. And about somewhere between 1/2 and 2/3 of people who spoke Chumash languages lived in towns that were directly adjacent to the ocean. And the largest towns anywhere in coastal Southern California were here along the Santa Barbara Channel.
A succession of settlers followed the Chumash to our coast, drawn by the same combination of temperate climate and abundant resources. But there was one resource that was in short supply in the area: lumber. In 1872, the demand for lumber would lead to the creation of something that would change the face of Santa Barbara forever: Stearns Wharf.
Before that time, Santa Barbara was by and large sort of cut off from the outside world. I mean, you did have the stagecoach, but there was no railroad yet. And oftentimes high tides, storms, etc. would either cut off access through the passes, or further down in the Rincon area, they couldn't get through if the tides or storms were bad enough.
Actually, the construction of the wharf, I think you can fairly say, jump-started the city as we know it. It became easier to unload lumber, which became easier to build homes, which became easier to build a real community.
As Santa Barbara grew and development inched its way to the coast, a grassroots movement began to preserve this area for all to use.
I think Santa Barbara has been incredibly fortunate that we have had we've benefited from any number of public-spirited citizens, sometimes just through ground roots political organization, sometimes through the giving of money to preserve the coastline here in this area for the public.
If you take a historical bird's-eye view of the Santa Barbara coastline, a pattern emerges of public spaces made possible either by philanthropy, citizen-led initiative, or a combination of both. In fact, that pattern starts at the very entrance to the city coming from the south at the Andre Clark Bird Refuge.
The bird refuge was a salt pond. They actually had a racing track around it at one time. That racing track went into disrepair. Interestingly, 60 individuals put in $100 each to purchase the old salt pond.
And so really there the property sat until 1928 when the Clark family stepped into the situation. So Anna and her daughter Huguette decided to give $50,000 to the city to develop the area into a true refuge, a true city park.
And that pattern of philanthropic, citizen-led preservation of coastal land continued from there. From David Gray's construction and donation of the Cabrillo Pavilion to the citizen-led effort to preserve Shoreline Park.
Shoreline Park had been threatened with apartment buildings a number of times. In the city, working in combination with a local citizens group, Save Our Shoreline,
put together a bond issue that essentially the city condemned and the bond issue paid for the improvements to what today is one of the most magnificent viewing areas along the western end of the city's waterfront area.
More recently, the last stretch of undeveloped open space in the city was saved by a strong grassroots effort.
Beautiful piece of property which had been a nursery. It was called the Wilcox property. There was an opportunity that came forward that the developers who had purchased that property for a senior care facility actually entered into negotiations with members of the community about purchasing it for open space and merging it into the city's park system. A local effort to raise funds to do that took place, and very frankly, we got very, very close. And it was the Douglas family, Michael Douglas specifically, who stepped forward in the name of his father, who basically came up with the bridge funding in order to complete that sale. So today what you have is the Douglas Family Preserve being a beautiful natural area, which is really, really popular.
After a century of this private to public land transfer, about 60% of the more than 6 miles of Santa Barbara's coast is publicly held, and all of it is accessible. But acquisition of this land is only part of the story. The city has also taken on the responsibility of protecting, enhancing, and enlivening this area as well.
Well, we have a ton of recreational activities, starting with fishing. We have charter boats that take folks half-day and three-quarter-day fishing, but you can rent sailboats, you can rent paddle boards, kayaks. This place in the summertime is abuzz with recreational activity.
There's a couple things we do. First of all, we maintain 4.2 miles of beach here. We provide a lifeguard service in the summertime, so our beaches are well maintained. We provide beach volleyball courts for people to drop in and use at no cost. Just about every city summer camp uses the beach in some manner or form, and so we have beach volleyball clinics, our junior lifeguard program. We have other camps that are for kids ages 6 to 10, where they just get a bigger appreciation of the ocean, the beach environment, and how to, be good stewards of that moving forward.
And when it comes to being good stewards of the coastline, the city has led by example. A successful ballot measure in 2000 resulted in the creation of the Creeks Restoration and Water Quality Improvement Program, the first of its kind in the state.
Since that time, the Creeks Division has done a number of projects, including a major restoration effort down at Arroyo Burro Estuary and Henry's Beach. And we do continuous operations along the beach. We do beach cleaning 3 times a week. We work with California Coastal Commission on Coastal Cleanup Day. We work with a number of nonprofit organizations throughout the city to do beach cleanups on a monthly basis. We have a tremendous amount of volunteers come out and participate in our Creek Week events. Other communities have stormwater programs that work to improve water quality, but nothing that is so involved with protecting the natural environment as what we have with the Creeks Division in the city of Santa Barbara.
The natural environment of Santa Barbara's coast is also unique, boasting a variety of ecosystems.
Santa Barbara's coastline is very diverse. We have bluff tops in the Mesa area of Santa Barbara. We've got coastal estuaries from Arroyo Burro to Mission down to Sycamore. We have a brackish wetland in the Andre Clark Bird Refuge.
The Santa Barbara area is very unique for marine species because we sit right at a transition zone. And so Point Conception is where everything changes. So basically what happens is you have this California current, which is a cold water coming down from the north. And then here we have this nice warm water in Southern California, and they meet here in the Santa Barbara Channel. And so we have this great transition zone. So you get amazing biodiversity. So we have the whales that are migrating by. We have fishes that mate on land. We have many, many bird species, marine mammal species, so it's just a fantastic area of biodiversity.
That fantastic biodiversity supports a variety of commercial fishing operations.
We have a lot of different fisheries here. Sea urchins is huge. I believe we're the #1 sea urchin port in the country. We also have lobsters and crab, white sea bass and yellowtail and sharks and swordfish, a whole range of fisheries that add up to about 10 or 11 million pounds a year. It's a thriving business.
But the coastal environment is a dynamic one and always changing. One of the great questions outstanding is just how fast it's changing, especially in regards to sea level rise.
We have very narrow beaches here, as you can see, and we have a receding coastline. And so we're going to see a lot more of things like this, a lot more flooding, and everything you see during a big storm event and dramatic events like this will be happening more frequently.
Scientists know this because while this year's El Niño hasn't delivered the rain expected, it has provided something else of value: data.
What we're doing along the beaches and coastline of Santa Barbara is making high-resolution scans with our equipment to measure the coastal change throughout El Niño. And during El Niño, we have sea levels that have been raised about 20 to 30 centimeters. This is the projected sea level rise for the end of the 21st century.
So this year is a very good kind of window into what we might be seeing more of. And so in a lot of places where we have cliffs and where we have just infrastructure that's right up to the edge, we do not have the opportunity for those beach ecosystems to move inland. And so they're stuck.
And with that rise in sea level, as well as the potential for additional coastal storms, we may be looking at and need to look at ways to further protect our infrastructure and identify new ways of managing the ecological areas of our coast as well.
Whatever challenges lay ahead for our coastal areas, one thing is for sure: Santa Barbara will meet them. We have relied upon this unique intersection of land and sea for sustenance, solace, and amusement for thousands of years. We are a community that has time and again come together to say we value this magical place and want to preserve it for all to enjoy.
What they started back in the 1920s, we're now a century from that particular, and we're enjoying the benefits of that.
Science can help predict changes and things that are going to happen to our coastline, but which solutions that we choose really reflect our values. Local knowledge and values clarification can really help us work towards protecting the coastline and keeping it in its natural state.
There is so much history here. There's so much to see and do right here, right now, that you wouldn't want to miss it, and you might want to spend a considerable amount of time in this area itself.
To take an audio tour and learn more about our amazing coastal resources, visit santabarbaraca.gov/explore the coast. Well, that does it for this episode of Inside Santa Barbara. If you have any questions or comments about the show, you can give us a call at 564-5311. If you missed something, not to worry, you can watch the show online at santabarbaraca.gov/citytv. I'm your host, Becky Davis, and remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.
I grew up here, I've made memories here, and I love being able to drive around knowing that this is my community. I'm helping my community.
We care, and we want to make this community a better place.
This career is for someone who wants to be challenged deep down inside to better a community.
It's the best job in the world, it really is. It's like a dream come true. Join your home team.